I'll
Recording in progress. Okay.
yeah, so you're now on tape.
Oh no. So maybe
Hello.
hello.
That's good. So is the sun shining?
Today, yes. We had a couple of days not so much light, but now slowly it's coming back.
Mhm.
And you see also the city waking up.
Mhm.
It's like spring coming again after 2 months of
Yeah,
grayness.
it's really exploding now in the
Mm.
garden. I had a question over email if I could teach about the garden, but I'm not a gardener. So I'm going to talk about my worms and my compost again.
Mm. I'm so curious because I think you brought it up in conversations we had before,
Yeah.
where you told me that you were asked to give workshops on gardening and
Yeah,
on composting.
yeah.
How is that coming together?
Now it's that, of course, it's always because of my big mouth. And when I'm teaching, I'm always using examples from everything that's around me. And yeah, last year's or the last 2 or 3 or 4 years, we are organizing our terrain where we're living on. And then inevitable, you meet the nature and you meet the ground where you're sitting on, and you have to work with it, or you can work with it so it grows, and water is not streaming into your house when a flood occurs. So we had to do some changes in the garden to prevent flooding and to absorb more water, so it wasn't that dry. Um, and just by doing that, by intervening in the terrain where our house is standing, a natural way of acting started, a natural way of gardening started to work out. Like when you dig in the ground over here, there is a hole, but then you have to put the ground somewhere else, and then you create a mountain. And next year, nature reacts completely immediately in the changes you make in the garden. And it was so fascinating to see how when you change something, that immediately there is a reaction, or there is a chain reaction of different things going on, and it affects the plants, and it affects the air, it affects the way you feel about the place where you are and how you feel. So I started experimenting with that. And the starting point was useful surviving, or usefulness to the life that we are living here, without adding chemicals, or without adding a lot of Chinese plastic garbage tools, or without having to plant plants that are coming from Costa Rica and never could survive here, or without cleaning everything out with asphalt or with concrete. So that was the outgoing, that was a point from building terrain to like a food forest or a garden forest or something. And it starts working out just by feeling it. And the idea of after a few months, I understood then that it's only about two things, and it's about nurturing, or giving nutrition, or helping the ground restore itself as good as possible. No, I say it incorrectly. To Not to be in the way of the restoring capabilities of the ground. That was the point. And so there's a nice analogy to what I do with people here in my practice, and what I was doing, or what I was performing in my garden. Not being in the way of the self-sustaining systems of the earth. And it's the same here. how to teach people not to be in the way of their own natural organization.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
that was that's the main focus on my work also. So when people ask me what I do, I always tell them the same story. Your body and the form that you experience yourself in, it has an unbelievable desire to organize itself and to replenish itself and to evolve and to connect with the flows that there are in nature. And there's an easy experiment I do with people in my teachings. And when you cut yourself in your hand, it closes from itself. You don't have to study it, you don't have to push it, you don't have to force it. It closes itself. So there is an intelligence there is an organization there that pushes it towards closing itself. When you cut it again, it closes again. And when you cut it again, it closes again. And there is an endless energy, an endless gusto, an endless drive to close it again, to reorganize, to replenish itself. And for me, that's a big inspiration for everything I do in my life. It's already installed, the flow. You just have to not get into the way, because otherwise you create obstructions.
You said you learned two things, or when you started gardening.
Mm-hmm. Nurturing and coping with the flows of water in the garden. Coping with the flows.
What do you mean by coping with the flows? What do you mean by coping?
If you don't, if you organize, or if you are too aggressive, then everything flows away from water, or everything gets blocked out or boxed in, and you create problems. So you need to deal with the flow of water on your terrain. And the earth only needs two things, and that's nutrition and water. Actually, it only needs water and light. But if you don't cope with the water, you don't get nutrition, and you're in the way of restoring. The earth does not restore itself on your piece of land. So I learned to read the water on my terrain, where the flows are going, where the original feed of nutrients is going. You have to sit and watch that. You have to wait for like a year or a half year to see your land in different conditions, to know where the flows are, the natural flows are. A nice example is like a fruit tree I planted here. Right next beside this fruit tree, there is a big Canadian tree that normally does not grow on the ground we have here. It's a very dry ground. It does not hold a lot of water, like it's sand, like it sipes through when it rains. So we don't have a lot of water here. But this plant grows here because he found somewhere, probably 2 or 3 meters deep, he found some water, or a vein of water. Right next beside, I planted a few meters apart. I planted a Kirschenbaum, a fruit tree. Kirsche,
yeah. I'm also looking at cherry,
yeah.
Cherry tree.
Cherry tree. And it does not grow at all. It's like now I think he is dead because I had some frost, but he does not grow at all. 4 meters further, I plant another tree because I like fruit trees. So and I wanted to make it go a bit faster. And it flourishes because I put it in the right spot. it found water and it found nutrition and it found a place where things comes together. So it's really flourishing. And it's amazing when you do these things and you start observing, then you start to understand how water flows, how earth and your garden restores itself without any handling or without any doing of you.
Mm.
And then you start helping it. When I see that water collects somewhere, I place some more material there, so when water flows there, it's even better. Like when you have a wound, you help to clean it out. You help your hand or you help your skin to keep it clean so it grows faster. You don't put sugar in it or something like that. You keep it clean, you keep it quiet and peaceful so it can grow and heal as fast as possibly can. And it's the same what we do here with the land. When I see that somewhere a good flow, I try to enhance a little bit. I try to comfort it so it can flourish there, the water. You have to see this, man.
I would love to. I would love to.
And I connected with it because I found on the internet there is a lot of resemblance with wild gardening and permaculture teams. But these systems are built on producing as much as possible to feed people. I'm not into producing as much food as possible on my piece of land because I believe in community, and I believe that there are other plots of land that are much more capable of producing food than me trying to force this land to produce food for me or enough food so as to can sustain myself. That's not the way the nature works. The nature works with community. There are places that have a lot, there are places that have less, but they have other things. So there is also in nature, there's a sort of community between animals, between plants. And I believe in that. So I don't believe that everybody has to have his land to create food on it. Something that's a capitalistic way of looking at it.
I don't know. I now I recall this word came up while you were speaking, lazy. You liked in conversations we had previously to say nature is lazy.
Yeah.
And when you were talking about the two trees, I was imagining trying to get this cherry tree to flourish. It would cause a lot of effort.
Absolutely.
Would need to
water every
maybe
day.
Water every day, rebuild the earth, try to make it fit, try to
manure
different, renew it, different nutrition. Maybe you cut something off. You see that maybe you cut some trees around so it gets more light. You try to change the environment so it's working better.
Yeah.
Right? But in the end, nature told you, look, 4 meters down the way, there's a perfect spot. If you plant the tree there, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was,
Just wait and see where the good spots are to land. It's a very important thing that we talk about in coaching and in teachings. Probably that's one of the important parts. Just observing and get drawn to it. There are people who have a natural way of feeling where to sit or where to, and children especially can do that. So it's nice to observe these people and see how they, without thinking, they sit in the right spot or they do the right decision, and then we call them lucky, but actually they're not lucky. They're as lucky as we are. They just intuitively are free enough to feel where they have to sit. But when I start thinking in ways of my plot is only 30 acres large, and I have to produce and perform between these boundaries, then I create a lot of work for myself. nature has no borders. When the apple tree does not grow here in this part, the bird drops it 2 or 3 miles further in the ground and there it grows. So nature is okay with the fact that the apple yard is 3 kilometers that way and the grass ground is here. But we as humans, we have our plots and our separations, and we are not okay that our apple trees are growing with the neighbors because that's not our plot. We cannot use it, but nature doesn't have that problem. It just sits there or it goes. That's another lesson I learned from my garden. I'm still learning, but I try to understand that I have to free myself, or no, that I have to try not to block my natural sense of where the water is, where the good places are to sit, where the nice places to lie, when it's time to speak, when it's time to sleep, when it's time to help. There is a time slot and a place for all these things. It's just a matter of connecting and set yourself free to feel it, and then you're in like high performance all the time, and then you're lucky all the time. I believe that, and I experience some of that myself. Actually, I experience it every day. But there's still parts of me that block that. The wanting is one thing. I want this or I want that. That are borders and that are borders that confine me when I want something. Then I don't set myself free. And that's where I relate it to the inner freedom part, I think. In a nutshell, that's what I try to do.
I loved how we started off by talking about gardening, but for me, when I listen, what I hear is the perfect analogy for what you do in your work and what I do in my work.
I can imagine.
I think something else came up, like in this talk about laziness and nature, right? Or we have our plots. I think sometimes, and you will probably have observed that in your garden, right? The best thing after you plant a tree, plant a seed, is to wait, because the work is going to be done. Your work was to plant the seed. The work of nature is to grow it.
Yeah.
You might nurture it, give it water or some nutrition, but there is nothing else for you to do. And what I see a lot in my clients, in people that I interact with, in myself, is we tend to plant a seed, put it in the earth, and then the next day we are like, is it growing already?
We watch it out of the ground.
We get very impatient. And not only that we watch it out of the ground, but after 2 days, we waited. We didn't see anything going. And we start to wonder and we get so impatient and we think and we're like, I'm really not sure if I planted right, if it's the right spot, if that is happening, and if it's ever gonna grow and what to do with it. So we put it out of the earth and we look at it and we're like, okay, still seed there. Okay, it's gonna be fine. We put it back in the earth and put some soil on it and we give it some water in that moment, and then after 3 days still nothing is coming out, right? And we're like getting so impatient again that we go back to it. We go around, we tap the ground, we see like maybe it was too soft, maybe it's too hard, and we play with it. And our neighbor, maybe at the same time, he's just planting the seed and he's not looking at it for a week, for 2, for 3 weeks. And sometimes I feel that this process of impatience actually hinders the trees to the seeds to ever sprout and flourish.
Yeah.
Because if you put it in nutrition and out of nutrition and in nutrition and out of nutrition, it's gonna take even more time than if you just put it in and you let
Yeah.
it be there.
There is deep philosophy in that, because you could say you have to leave it alone. But actually, it should be so that your life is so busy with other things planting that you left it already enough alone so it can sprout without your attention. And what I saw an old farmer do was this. He had a lot of work. He planted the seeds, but then he planted other things and he had to feed his cows and he does other things. So his attention goes away and he knows the plant is safe, the seed is safe, it's in good ground, it had its water, it had everything it needed to get a good start. So he's at ease with that. So he can put his attention to other things to do in the same way. And so he goes his whole round around the farm, and after 2 or 3 weeks, he comes back to the plant, and it's okay. It grows, it's sprouted. But I saw him do another thing. And I saw him walk in the evening, make a walk around his farm, and looking at everything he did, and giving it a nod. And for me, it was the same as giving it a loving attention for a few minutes. And then he walked to other things that he did. And every night he did a walk around his farm when the sun was going down and giving everything his approval, like a loving approval. And I think that's an important piece of action that we miss when we plant a seed. Let's put the analogy there of what people do and start meditating and start focusing on it and start highlighting the thing that they are going to change, and not farm the rest of the farm, but highlight it and even put it out again and watching it, and okay, and another teacher says we did, so I put some manure on it. But what never happens is loving attention for a moment and then go to the other things and give it loving attention. So that's a kind of nurturing that is not happening. So what you could do is just put things in the ground with enough loving attention, and then go put other things in the ground, because there's a lot to do in a life, no? There's a lot to do. No?
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, you have to put the energy bills out. You have to take the garbage out. You have to clean a little bit. You have to wash yourself. You have to kiss your wife, or to touch each other lovely. You have to make sure you have clothes on when it's cold. So you have a lot of things to do in your farm that you can do with the same attention. But that one seed that you plant, that's already growing there, that's already in good ground, it's okay to leave it indeed for a few weeks or a few days, and if you come back to it, don't rip it out of the ground, but give it a little bit of love, like, I'm content that it's there. I'm content that I put it there. I don't know if I come over.
It sounds to me like appreciating what you did, appreciating the seeds that you put into the earth.
Yeah, that's a big part of the nutrition. Yeah. There are still, in the case of my garden, there are still a lot of things that even science does not know. And it's nice that you said that when you put out to see if the roots are okay and then put it in again, it's about nutrition indeed. But when you put something out of the ground and you re-put it in, the chemistry and the micro life that's around the roots changes completely. It even changes when you put something in the ground or on top of the ground. It even changes when you place your foot in the plant bed. The pressure of your foot alone changes the chemical structure and the microorganisms around the roots of the plants. And recently there was an interesting book about the trees. I think it was an Austrian who wrote the book. I don't know his name. Life of Trees, I think it's called. I will bring it along. And there is evidence that trees communicate through fungi in the soil, like a chemical network of neurons there. And the slightest pressure, like a tree is cut on the beginning of the forest, is communicated through the network of neurons and chemicals and fungi in the ground towards other trees. So they already start producing fruit. So when they are cut, it's already sown for the new trees to grow. So they are protecting themselves against a woodcut. That was a realization for me, that and it's for lettuce, it's for radishes, it's for sunflowers, it's for everything that has roots in the earth. It's connected to this network. So it's fantastically more fine-tuned than we think. And I think for humans it's the same. We don't know how fine the connections are because our instruments are too rough to measure these things, or our science is too rough. We only see what we see and feel what we feel.
Yeah, I was just before our conversation, I was listening to a book, an audiobook, and it's about, it's called what was it called? Coach the Client, Not the Problem. I think it's the title of the book, and she speaks a lot about connection in the book, how important that is for the work of a therapist, of a coach, of somebody working with other people. Basically, connection is very important. And she talked about how many people subscribe their pets the ability to feel in which state they are. Like if they're sad, I don't know, many people know this story, right? You're sad and your cat comes and lays on your legs, or your dog is noticing how you are, and they kind of pick it up, and many people believe that. And she said, we all do have this ability. We are all sensitive.
Yeah.
We just learned how to be insensitive. And sensitive meaning you notice what you sense. This is for me the meaning of sensitivity. And I think as we see, I love the story that you told me. I didn't know that about trees, that it's scientifically getting proved.
Yeah, Peter Wolleben is the name of the author of the book. Peter Wolleben, Life of Trees. But I will bring it.
Nice. Yeah, I'm most curious about that.
The connection you were talking about.
I was talking about the connection. Yeah, and I think as science is discovering those networks in between trees or plants, I think it's a possibility for us to explore how much of a network we are as humans.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I had a very funny moment yesterday. For people that know me for a longer time, I used to have very short hair for a long period of time. And last year, July, I decided, okay, I'm gonna let my hair grow. I never had it this long in my life, so it's something I'm always curious about, new experiences. And I thought it's my decision to make. Now, all my friends have long hair. All the men in my closest friends group have decided to grow their hair, kind of at similar times than I did.
Yeah.
I walked around the other day and I went back. Now coffee places are opening back up again in Austria.
Yeah.
and I'm making a walk, and I meet a couple of people, the owner of a little coffee place that I like to go to, the owner of a restaurant that I know there, and some other people around. And I noticed all the men have long hair. They didn't have long hair last year. They didn't have long hair when I saw them last. And I was, another thing that I noticed, I bought a new rain jacket. And I saw it in this very beautiful green, and I'm building up the website for I'm building up a website for my coaching practice right now. I'm working with someone together, and we set up this professional space for different activities that I will bring to the people. And we choose the color, and I see this color, and I'm like, wow, this is a beautiful jacket. I want to have that jacket. Now I'm walking through Vienna, and I look into windows, and I notice it seems to be the trend color of this year.
Very nice, Moritz.
Hundreds of people are going around with the same color. And it got me thinking that actually none of this were my unique decisions.
Mhm.
So I'm part of this big human network that, for whatever reason, likes green this year and long hair. and I can't think that I'm this independent little piece of information going around. I'm Moritz. I have my own decisions. I like long hair. It has nothing to do with anyone else.
Mhm.
But if I open up my eyes, I can see that this is not true.
Yeah.
We are all interconnected in our decision making, in our moods, in what we share as humans. And yeah, I don't know how much sense that makes, but it just came
A
up.
lot. Yeah, a lot. You could say it's steered by trend makers, and I don't know what marketing guys make of it, but even the trend makers are sensing the sense of the communication in people, and they just bring it out. There is not a mastermind that decides, okay, this year will orange be the color, and let's put it out in every magazine so Moritz gets orange. Probably there are groups of people trying that, but there is more to it than just that. It's really like a sphere. It's hanging in the air. It's the same with like aggression. The aggression curve in our land, and probably in your land too. It's going up, and you can feel it everywhere. And you cannot pinpoint or guilt one or another thing. It's just the emotion of the time that's going up, and there are periods that it's going down. You could say it has to do with economics. It could be, but it's a sense, and everybody's sucked into the flow a little bit. You have to adjust to it. But there are in micro levels and macro levels, I believe there are connections that are not steerable or measurable by one person or by one group of persons.
Yeah.
And in friends too.
You said something in the beginning about when you cut yourself, right?
Yeah.
Two things actually. And you said when you cut yourself, you help your wound. You try to be in according to the wound. And or it, like, I don't know how you said it in a different way. But before that, you were talking about how you observed the flows of water at your land. And you took time to read it and to see it and to understand where at which time things are passing through, so you could work in harmony with those flows to make it as effortless as possible in some way, right? So I think that for me is also being sensitive, is sensing what's going on, so you can make it easy to help the wound to close itself. If you understand, if you can feel how blood is flowing in, if it's too warm, if it's too cold,
Yeah.
it's easy to adjust when you pay attention.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult if I'm like, it would take me much more time probably to figure out a different color, because everybody else is having that color and I need a different color, and then I'm clothing, like I use clothing that tries to go against the stream. I mean, sometimes it's also fun to do so,
Yeah.
and even if you do, probably you're part of the expression of the whole, trying to go
Fun.
against the stream.
Yeah.
But what I notice in my work sometimes is, and I don't have a garden, I have my body to observe.
It's the same.
It's, yeah.
There are worms everywhere.
Yeah. um, what I noticed when I'm working with people, and I'm in different moods throughout the day. Sometimes I'm very excited, sometimes I'm full of energy, sometimes I'm not, sometimes I'm tired, sometimes my flow is going down, right? I'm in ebbe, like I'm in downturn momentum.
Yes.
If at those times a client comes to me and my body is tired for whatever reason, or my mind is not able to have very quick answers, or be very analytic, it's not helpful at all to try to do a very physical exercise with my client, move them around, and then talk 15 minutes straight up about all the symptoms that I noticed and this and that and what they should do. If I'm in that mood, and I mean, it can change, but just to realize where my system is in that moment, and I'm relaxing into that, and I see where the flow goes, usually those are the treatments that are, for both, not only for me, but also for my client, hold most of the value that I can bring. Because it's not only me, it's the whole thing in harmony. And the less I, how do I say this? The less friction I create, the more energy I also have to give within that flow.
Yeah.
Than when I try to impose the idea of the moment onto the moment.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, for whatever reason, I think I should explain a lot this day, even though my body says, no, just feel and work.
Yeah. Can you imagine, or is it for you so that when you work this way, like creating as less friction as possible, that the amount of information you get, or the creativeness where you receive the information, or where you give or communicate with somebody, is completely different than when you start, when you make friction, like you go against your own feeling of now I'm tired, no, we are going to work it up, or we're going to talk, or we're going to work this scheme off even if I'm too tired. It feels to me that you would miss a lot of information and fine flows because you're going in a way that is not, you're blinding yourself. Then that's a feeling that I get when you go into friction. You go in the opposite direction of what you feel. You blind yourself. You don't read the good.
Yeah. To me, totally. And it's like trying to, it's so much easier if you cycle with the wind in your back rather than against the wind.
Yeah.
And I feel also I mean, that's very personal, what I can sense when in my interaction with other people. What I do is much more impactful if I have the wind at my back, because I need less effort. I'm more attentive. I'm calmer. I notice more because I'm not struggling to move and use all my energy to go against the current, right? Or the wind. So yeah, totally.
Okay.
Totally.
And when we talk like this, and maybe this goes a bit far for people, but when we talk like this, it does not matter what you do for technique. Like, I know you're speaking about body work now, like shiatsu or pressure techniques or massage, which I do as well on my foot on here. But it's the same when you advise people how to move, or when you adjust posture, or when you talk to people. It's the same principles are there. Huh?
I mean, I think this conversation is a perfect example for that, because I came into this conversation planning to have an interview about your background, planning that you interview me about my background, so we can put that in the group and have people understanding our backgrounds.
Yeah.
But if we were to push this, or if I or you were to push it in this conversation, we would have missed a wonderful conversation about gardening and the flow that occurs in gardening, and how that's similar to the flow in our body, and to being in tune with life, right? So for me, the information of the moment was a different one than the personal idea I had coming into the meeting.
That's a beautiful example of what you just explained, indeed, about opening your senses towards whatever would come. So the definition of what you do could be, I pose this as a question, and Moritz, you can always reflect on that. So the definition of what you do could be setting people in the right mode, or clearing their observation, or clearing their tools, so they know how to observe without obstructing themselves or obstructing their view. You will put it nicer, I am sure of that.
I think, I mean, this also changes from time to time depending on where I am in the moment. I will probably explain it differently to who I'm talking to. Right now, what I see is it's more, and maybe that's exactly what you mean by it. It's an invitation. I constantly keep re-inviting people to go back to what they see right now, what they know right now, what they feel right now. So I'm constantly inviting you back into sensitivity, into sensing and being attentive to what you're sensing.
That's a dangerous job, no? Because people can get in panic because they arrive at your place and want to know what's wrong, or what do they have to do to get out of this, whatever their problem is, tension or a difficult relationship, or
yeah, I mean, just a recent experience I had yesterday. I had a longer conversation with CEO of a small company, and he's the leader of the whole team. He has a couple of employees, and he had this idea of I come in and I tell him what to do, and I gonna propose the way of working together because I'm the expert there. It's not his job, and basically I will know better, so I should do that, and I should. I mean, this is not his words. I gonna put it that way. Apologies to him if it's not what he meant. But I come in and I fix it.
Okay, a personal question from me before you go further. Are you like, okay, or are you like, oh my God, again, one of these guys, or are you like, shit, what I'm going to do now?
I mean, there could be plenty of reactions,
Okay.
right? It could be, and I have to think myself back. I think I had the urge to stop him.
Okay.
Like but that was my personal coming up.
Okay.
What I'm trying to be in when I'm in a coaching conversation with someone is I'm not going with neither nor of any of those reactions. I notice them if I have them, but my attention goes back to him.
Nice. Yeah.
And what I then brought up, and I didn't go into it too deep, but throughout the conversation, I helped him understand that it's not going to be me fixing any problem, that it's going to be his insights and his understanding that's going to be changing his perspective on what a problem actually is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened throughout the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very normal for us as people, as humans, to come in with that attitude, especially in our society, I guess, because we are, that's also the way, that's my opinion at least, that's also the way how a lot of advertisement is placed on us, how a lot of ideas are being placed on us, like buy this and you will feel this. If you're feeling like that, this medicine is going to make you feel like this. Like there's constant problem solution focus.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's common for people to come like that.
Mm-hmm.
In my room, they're gonna lay down and they want to know what's wrong with them. Mm-hmm. And I'm seeing my role more in gently re-inviting them to see that there actually was nothing wrong with them coming in the first place, even without me. And it takes time for that realization. It still takes time for me at times. Like I'm totally in the, okay, I need to fix that mode, or fix myself, or fix something, or like the gentleman was yesterday, I gonna come in, like this person needs to come in and fix me, or fix that, or fix whatever, right? But it's a gentle invitation to go back to notice and see. And when you go back to notice and see, and you look at the garden, right? If you look at one piece of it and you look at this hole, and you might have an idea and you're like, oh, I don't like this hole and it's broken, you know, like you see the earth is not working in a nice way, or you look at this one tree that is dying right now in your garden, right? And it's like, oh shit, the garden, you might get this idea like the garden is not working. But if you look at the whole thing, the whole interplay of relationships within the garden, and if you look at the whole system, it's perfect. Mm-hmm. There's a perfect flow of information going on. There's nothing wrong within that flow. It's just telling you at the moment, this tree there, it doesn't belong here, so it's gonna die off, and it's gonna degrade, and it's gonna nourish the ground, and it's gonna make space for something else, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
now you're giving a course about permaculture without having a garden. There you go.
That's how you made it.
Yeah. While you were talking, something came up, like, how on earth could you tell somebody what it is you do by naming the techniques that you are doing? You create a perception with the other, or the other person creates a perception that it's and what is completely what is always not right what you mean. So how can we do an interview where you say to me, okay, Bart, I know you do some work, but I don't know exactly what you do. How can I explain it in techniques? Because people will understand it with their mind.
Yeah.
And I love this business card we are putting together, because the title of the thing will be, this is the biggest business card in the world. The long this is the longest business card in the world. But people better can understand what's the intrinsic value or intrinsic work, rather than, okay, with you we are going to do massage naked. With you we are going to do exercises out of Tai Chi. With you we are going to do breathing exercises. Those are not important. Actually, I did a video this morning, and I started the video with, stop meditating, stop doing yoga, stop doing any technique you saw in a book or you learned somewhere in a course. First, start understanding what are the actual what's the inside story of it before you start doing techniques. And then you realize that you are doing meditation without even reading a book. I'm even gardening without ever been taught how to garden. So that's the realization I had while you were speaking. You were actually explaining people how you work. And
I think I'm not, I don't, yeah, somewhat you could say, I was about to explain how we work, but I think I would put the we in a broader sense, in saying, like, we are talking about what we can see, how it works, how we work as humans, right? How nature works. And within that, I'm not that's the beauty of it. I mean, I can recall a conversation when you said, yeah, you learn to be lazy with nature, because you don't have to do a lot, right?
no, it's the easiest job in the world.
Exactly, and that's my job.
This is not good advertising.
It's very good at, like, people, and I see this a lot, especially in my bubble of coaching. It's so common that we put out those slogans that say, I'm gonna move you from there to there, $10,000 in 1 month, no problem, double your income, 6-figure business. I get those advertisements every day when I look into Facebook. Every day I get inquiries of people on LinkedIn that propose me stuff like that every day. And we could make the title Inner Freedom, learn how to be strong, healthy, and up your performance in any moment, everywhere. And then we say, you learn proper breathing, you learn how to relax your body under stress, you learn how to quiet your mind without having to do the work. You're gonna learn how to drive and strive.
You're ripping my advertisement completely, man.
Yes, we're gonna destroy it. We're gonna and best, we're gonna tell people after the event, if you don't gonna financially succeed in the next 2 years,
you get your money back.
You get your money back, right? and that's, for me, like, I learned in marketing, I learned how it's called an ego hook. And it's a valid idea, and I know many people that use it very well and beautifully, and it works because we want to hear those things. We all have our ego at play, right? Earning more money, status, relationships, whatever your ego hook is, or being the Buddha of, right? It's all an idea in our head, and if you find the right trigger, right, that's how we buy stuff.
Yeah, of course. I use the fear trigger.
Yeah.
Are you certain that you that works for me.
Yeah, I and it works, and I think it works well, and it can be very, very helpful to, because sometimes we're so busy, we are running in ego, we are running in those ideas, and something can catch our attention, and if it then invites us to open up and to go to a retreat and find quiet and solitude, or go out of this pace, I mean, that's the moment when realizations are happening. But none of this is needed. My work is not needed.
Yes.
Like, what I do with people is not needed.
Yeah.
It's only, it can be wanted. And sometimes, I mean, I'm working with a coach, I'm working with a therapist, like a body worker here in Austria, because I'm learning from it and I like this kind of support.
There's no problem with that. And those people come on your path in mysterious ways, don't you think?
Totally.
Not through an advertisement. Maybe it does, but it's only because it appeals to you.
But I'm not seeing, for example, my coach as the person fixing me. No. And I'm not seeing my bodywork therapist as the person getting my body right. I see the whole interplay of moments and ideas and situations as a perfect harmony to enhance maybe this body, and there is money flowing to this person, and that money is enhancing what they do, and it's increasing the ability of this person to form and interact with bodies. I'm learning to form and interact with bodies differently. So
you're actually gardening with yourself and with the world around you.
Exactly. And I think when I'm starting to understand the connection between things and the interplay in that way, there is no work to do. There is no, like, it's not my work.
No.
Changes. It's the person and I and all what's happening in between that is forming that moment. And if a person comes, for example, into my practice, it's as much their doing as it is my doing, whatever changes in their body. And in the end, it's none of our doing, because the growing together of this is not us doing.
No.
And it's not the small mind. It's not the idea that we hold in our head that makes us moving together.
No. But it's needed somehow. No, it's not needed. It's there. So it's useful for that moment. We are useful, and people are useful when they come together. If it's in a practice or in everywhere, but it's useful, but it's not necessary, or it's not. How can I put it? Yeah, I understand what you say. Doesn't matter.
I think I think it is useful, and none of it always, like, I don't know, when we use words, they can have so many different meanings depending on where you look at from, right? At one level, I'm helping a person when they come to me, right? On the level of idea, it can seem like that I'm helping a person to relieve stress in their body, or it can seem like you're helping a person to relieve stress in the body, or you are helping a person to grow their garden in a beautiful way, right? On another level, there is no one helping no one, because it's the interplay of things and situations. It's all your ideas that made you to come to watch this video in that moment right now.
Mm.
And there's a subscription of an idea that is called you, placed up on that what you're experiencing right now, what I'm experiencing right now. And that idea has very little to do with what's going on. From that level, there is no one helping no one. It's just what's happening.
There is an interaction, and it's there.
Yes, and I mean, that's one level, that's another level, and there are hundreds and thousands of different levels in between that you can look from, like hundreds and thousands of different perspectives that you can place upon a thing. So when you're saying we have to do something, or it's, you know, like it's necessary or it's not necessary, that's true. And if you're saying like, actually none of it is necessary and it's just what's happening, that's true too.
It's just words, Morris. It's just words. The only thing I can, when I have to simplify it for the people, that come or make an appointment here, I can only say this: I invite them to play together, because it's much more enjoyable to play together than be alone with your suffering and your obstructions again, the natural flows of life, or of all these dimensions that are happening in the world. You can fight against them, or you can you can fight against them, or you can block them, or try to push them in another way. But it's, let's just play. And a lot of people get angry when they feel that here in the practice, because it's not what they expect. They expect an obstruction or a solution or an explanation. And when you bring play, or when you bring freedom in the game, it can be, when I'm not gentle enough, it creates an aggression, because they're pulled out of the tension that they want to be in. They want to be in a solution. They want to be in a problem. They want to be in an identification of what's happening with them. And that's the biggest work I have to do here, or I do when I meet people, is indeed try to invite them to play again, because it's a lot less energy and a lot more food and result when you just play.
Yeah.
So marketing wise, when I don't have enough clients, I already learned not to start advertising like a madman or trying to put out these slogans, but just sit with myself and think, okay, where am I not playing, or where am I not invitive enough so people want to play? Or what is this idea that I have to play with people? So I criticize, like I dissolute myself again into where are the obstructions against the healing or against the flow that I have in my garden. And when I salute it, or when I dissolve it, then it's miraculously starts flowing again. And it happens to me several times. And I know when coaches are watching this, they will agree. Sometimes the agenda is empty, maybe. And some weeks it just fills up and you don't know where everything comes from. People that you haven't heard for 10 years start calling. And when you observe what you are doing, or how you are feeling, or how you're setting yourself free, there is a connection between the flowing of things and the restriction of things. So it's not a question about I did not advertise enough, or Corona is decimating my my client base or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked what you said before when you said to me, it's just words. right? We pay a lot of attention to the words. And I feel like we pay in general a lot of attention to ideas and words and the outer expression of things. But for me, what stands behind you saying, I'm looking at where I'm not playing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong there, but it's a very different energy that you're getting into a thing. If you say like, let's play there, right? A person comes to your mat and to your futon, and you say like, okay, lay down, we're gonna play together. Right? I'm gonna play with your body, and I'm gonna listen, and we're gonna interact. We have this interaction. And you do the same thing for advertisement. You do the same thing for so many things around. And those things are usually flow. Like if we start playing, we don't like to stop the play. We enjoy the play. Like if you're in a game, it's fun. And that's a very different energy that comes across.
And it creates food for new things, for other things. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I remember as a child, I used to play with friends, imaginary games. We imagined whole worlds. And I mean, we were going a bit in extremes there.
Of course.
We had one game that we played over 2 years. We had a whole storyline where it started and where it went, and we would go back to this play every time we could. We spent lots of time. We were meeting, like we were in school, and after school we were deciding where we go, and often like wherever we were, if we were at the friend's place or at our place, it would change. We would get new ideas for the environment and what we were into. We wouldn't get tired. Food, like when our parents cooked for us, it was like, okay, we eat it, or like very fast, or we would make it part of the play.
Yeah.
We would say like, okay, can we take it out with us? It's like, can we take it out and make it part of the play?
Yeah.
And I don't know where I wanted to go with that, but maybe the point was already in what I shared.
Of course, it doesn't matter. It has. The nutrition is in the play.
Yeah.
It creates manure. It creates, no, it does not create manure. It creates nutrition. That's why a lot of the work I do here is manually, because the body immediately understands play. When I say, let's play, the body immediately reacts. And it doesn't matter if it's a person of 200 kilograms or it's a fine young lady with rank long legs. The body immediately wants to play. And then there are no words necessary. People go in kind of like a subconscious state if they are at ease in my practice. They go in kind of a subconscious state where you can play, and then obstructions that are already a lot of years there in their bodies start opening up a little bit. And sometimes people feel as a release when they wake up and they go home, and sometimes people feel as if there is even more obstruction, because the mind and the words in the mind and the way they conceptualize their life makes that's where the obstruction is created. That's where the emotions are created then. So the next step I try to do with them is to teach how this system works, how the garden works, how easy it is, how lazy it should be. And all day I'm busy with that, trying to refine ways to try to bring people to play again. And the garden is one of the nice examples how to do that. And there is you cannot put anything logically against it. I get people here who studied their whole lives or are very intellectual, even more than you or me are, and they have words, they have thought concepts I cannot even grasp. But when you put these simple concepts that we explained on the table, there is not one thought concept that can go against it. It has to come along. And there you see that created thoughts and created concepts are also a residue of this natural flow. And that's what keeps me confident that it doesn't matter who is going on in this practice. It always works, and it's not because of me.
No.
The fact that I'm in contact with that gives me the energy to go on with the work. I don't go on with the work because I like to help people. I don't like people, actually. No, excuse me. I don't like the people's minds and conceptualizing and the way they think and the way. But the fact that every day I can be in touch with other people and connect with the playfulness and connect with the flow gives me the energy and the motivation to go on and to refine the ways of talking, refine the ways of working, refine the ways of teaching for what my capabilities are. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only work there is.
Yeah. And it becomes easy if it's
Yeah.
if it's not you having to plan it out all by yourself.
That's true. That's true. But you should be able to do it just by yourself. Yeah, it's true.
I feel like, I mean, you say you don't like helping people with I don't know. I have those days where it's just what I do.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna borrow Ram Dass here. And it's very similar for me. Like, there are people after treatment and they're gonna say, thank you so much, and what you did for me was amazing. And there are people going out confused and they can't even talk to me, and maybe are even sometimes they dislike what in a coaching conversation can happen, but the person doesn't like that you point something out, and there's resistance, and they're like thinking for a moment, what a bonkers conversation, I don't like it. And when I'm with me, or when I'm connected with how I want to be working, or how can I say it? With how I want to be impacting my life, people around me, and whatever, I come to see it in that way, that if people like what I do, that's their problem.
Mm-hmm.
If people don't like what I do, that's their problem.
So it's always their problem.
If I like what I do, that's my problem. If I don't like what I do, that's my problem.
Yeah.
And there are those days when it's just what I do.
Yeah.
And everything else is an idea that I can put on. Right? I can enjoy it. I can decide to not enjoy it.
Yeah.
I mean, I say, for me, it's fun to play, and I like fun.
Uh-huh.
It's my personal preference, and I like enjoyment, and I like to appreciate things.
Mhm.
But that's my problem.
Yes. Amen. Everybody got his problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to add maybe a last section here. You should go with that coach, or you should read that book, or you should go with that teacher. And I hear a lot of people say, or coaches maybe try to present themselves so a lot of people come. But in the past 10 years, I noticed that people don't choose with their minds. They choose by looking into the eyes of the person sitting in front of them, or they even in 0.1 second, they decide if they want to work with you or not, or if you are that person in that moment that's useful for their problem, positive or negative. It's not about hormones, or it's not about because you can even have it on a screen, so it does not have to do with chemicals. There is a connection, and when you feel it, you should do it, or you should go with it. So it has nothing to do with a lot of followers or a lot of people, and it does not have to do anything with how good my texts are in an advertisement or in a business card. It's just, how does it feel in the moment? And it could be that you work with somebody for a day and 10 years with another, or it could be that you work for 3 months with somebody and then it's enough. But people choose with their clicks, not with their minds, I think.
Yeah.
And if they choose with their click but decide elsewhere because their mind or their friends say, no, you have to do that, or you have to do that, it always goes wrong, always stops immediately.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed this.
I can see that, like I again gonna pull from the conversation I had yesterday, because I think that example can feed into this. In the conversation, the person that I interacted with, he had a moment where his eyes lit up and his whole body changed from some tension to relaxation to, I could see how something eased, and then I saw him working in his mind. So I saw a lot of ideas coming up, and I wanted to know what the insight was. And he said, like, we were talking about this must and want, and how different it feels if I say, like, I want to do this retreat, or I have to do this retreat. I must do this retreat. And he had a realization around this must force and want. And he said, I was curious to know, like, well, what did you see? What did you come to see? And he's like, I was thinking about a situation with a business partner, and I started off with must. The whole situation started off with a must. And I came to see this right now, how it all started with the must. I have to. And it went totally south. And he said, but I also saw something else which started with a want, and that thing is still going. And for me, that was so beautiful to hear, because one is the desire, is the pull, is bringing you to, it feels easy, it's pulling you in, you want it, you go there, it's a desire. And the other one is the head saying, okay, it's a good idea to do this, you have to do this. And
Then the word abundance comes up. When it's a want and it's a heartfelt thing, or it's a, yeah, I point here, but I don't know where my sensory organs are that make the click. I think my whole body is a sensory organ when it makes a click. But when you see it and you start playing with it, it creates abundance. It's unbelievable to see what nature produces when you give it the ability to grow, or when you help it, or when you support it, like nature meant us to be. We were meant to cut down some trees and plant some things there and shit there in the woods. And I'm talking about like 10,000 years ago or 80,000 years ago. So we were meant to do these things, so nature is supported and can grow even more. It's amazing what an abundance there is. And also in play, when you work with people and there is this connection, the abundance of ideas and growth and healing and insights, you probably can speak about this. There is abundance, and that for me is the label of quality. That for me is the barometer. I don't know if you know barometer.
Yeah, in German it's Barometer. Yeah, pyramid. Yeah, pyramid.
No.
The measure.
Yeah, the measure of the pressures in the air. But that's the check to see if you are connecting correctly. And you can fake it. You can put a lot of money in it and create abundance, but it always ends there. But when it sustains itself, the abundance, then you know that there is play, or there is a natural connection and flows are good. I always try to seek for abundance when I work with a person and there's a body lying in front of me, and I start with this body and I'm not feeling in my body, I'm not connecting right away. Then I try to make it quiet for myself. And I start with one spot on the foot or on the heel or on the knee. It doesn't matter where I touch somebody. And then I start to create abundance in that spot with that one technique that I'm doing there. Just there in that spot. How much abundance can I create here? And the abundance is created by searching for play and for creativity and new things. And I start to let myself go. So my fingers are doing new stuff there. And suddenly abundance appears and the connection appears and it starts going, and then you can expand it to the whole body, or maybe to just that spot. I don't know how it feels then, but that's also a way that I can get into a treatment or into a connection with somebody. Just still it, small it down, box it just a little bit, one technique, one little spot, and start with the abundance there. And a nice relation to the garden is what my wife Esther is doing here. She is a very good painter in the garden. She can paint. But when you give her, and I'm sorry Esther that I'm talking about this like this, but when she gets a whole garden and it needs to be organized, and there's a lot, people lose connection with the abundance and the creation of the connection. And there is no panic, but the work does not go this well. She experiences a lot of work, but then when you speak to her and we say, okay, let's do this corner, let's just do this, and let the other things go and grow, whatever, but just paint here and make this garden like you feel you want to make it. This square meter only. Just make it like you want to feel. Just focus on this meter. Then she starts painting. And before you know it, some meters around this square meter, she already took with it, and without knowing, there is a whole place a beautiful garden with vegetables, with everything growing. You feel the love in the earth just by smalling it down to 1 square meter and focusing on 1 or 2 techniques and try to create a play with that. Just simplify it and small it down. Then where the connection is there, then you can expand and things grow. That just to point out how abundance can be created when you're not feeling it. I'm just trying to. That's what we are going to explore in the Inner Freedom retreat. I'm going to limit people to a very small place with very few items to deal with, and create abundance with that in this very small confined space, so that people can see that in a molecule there is an whole world, or there is abundance in every cell or in every part. Blah 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 blah. We go on.
I like that.
That was the last part that's important for me, the word abundance.
In shiatsu, what I learned is we have this idea of kyo and jitsu. Kyo is when it's empty, and jitsu it's when it's full. So it means a lot of pressure or very little pressure. When you go on the body, sometimes there are places where it seems to be super full, too full, and other places where it's very empty. And the way I learned it is to start where it's empty, where it's easy to get in, where there's a hole, where it's easy to access. And it's very interesting what happens in the body, because most people are trained, like if somebody comes in, and I just yesterday had the experience, so my right side is more tense than my left side. I had a couple of injuries on my right side, and I tend to be more in the tendency of my body, and probably my mind as well, on the right side is to be a bit more controlling, so there's more tension in my body there. When I go to my guy that he treats me and he works with the body, he never starts at the point where there's the most tension. He was working left side full on for 30 minutes yesterday, spent very little time on the right side. And what started to happen is, by just growing that where it was easy to grow, that would pull other resources in, and it would pull the too much out of the one side, and it would give it to the other side. And the more the left side relaxed, the more my right side understood how it feels to relax more. And I think often we have the tendency to start at the point with the most friction. And we want to get this done, and we want to have that thing, like, right side relax, and best I go to my injury and I'm wondering like why it's still not okay, and I press around it. And what I learn more and more is to start breathing where it's easy to breathe. If your belly is still in tension, see if you find a lightness in your chest. If your right shoulder is tense, see if you can relax the left a little more, if that's easier. It doesn't need to be so hard.
No.
And by following which you like and which is easy, you're gonna be finding a pull that creates more and more of that. And it goes back to me to the beginning when we talked about a seed, planting a seed. If you water it, there will be a tree coming out. And if the tree comes out, it's going to pull different nutrients in. It's going to pull the earth. it's gonna create a flow into that.
Mhm.
And I think that's an important point for me. It's really, it's inviting people to see where they have their attention.
Yeah.
And gently offer different points where it's easy for each individual to enter that easy spot to grow something.
Yeah.
By growing that, other things will follow.
Yeah. That's a very, very good technique you have there. We could elaborate on that for 3 or 4 more hours.
Yeah, I think so.
But we are going to do that in the inner freedom retreat. So if there are coaches or therapists that want to deepen their practice, I think they will be there in a good spot, because without learning new techniques, they can deepen out the things that they already know. Because you don't have to have a lot of techniques. You can have one technique and be a master of that just by deepening it. Because where you go in, if it's in what do you call it? Jitsu and Kyo.
Kyo and Jitsu.
Yeah. Now I remember it from my training also, Kyo and Jitsu. Even if you go in a Jitsu, there is a possibility to make a connection there. But also, if you only know the Kyo entrance, it's a good entrance. As long as there is a constant ping of rhythm and connection towards the place that you want to go in, you can go in. But it's nice that it's easier to go in where the openness is, of course. But yeah, and then rhythm is another big important thing. And then I thought I'd talk about a farmer that goes around his whole farm and then comes around of the little seed again. So there is a certain rhythm of love at this spot. It's not all the time on that spot, but it's always a certain rhythm. And at a certain point, something erupts out of the seed. Yeah, there are all nice metaphors to talk about the work. So to conclude, Moritz, we do shiatsu, we do coaching, we do yoga, we do breath work, we do walks, we get lost inside ourselves, we
meditate.
Oh yes, we meditate.
We have lots of fancy techniques.
Lots of fancy techniques. We invent them as we go, actually. We create new techniques. So everything is there. The whole package is there. And we are specialists in everything.
Of course.
Of course. Professional and special. And we studied everything to the bone.
Totally.
No. So what else do people need to know about us then? Besides, it costs a lot of money, of course.
Of course. I mean, it's a good question. What else do they need to know? I think we kind of presented very, very well. We're two humans in that experience.
Yeah.
Just putting the attention to a certain point, and
if you click,
you just click. Yeah. If you resonate, it's gonna resonate, and most likely people that gonna come already, a big part of them already knows.
Probably yes.
And for the others, it's not the time yet.
Maybe when we are famous on TV.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm striving for that, but
no, I'm not either. But we are already on. I think it's important that you put yourself visible out there to a certain amount, because you can sit in a cave somewhere on the top of a mountain, or you can work in a factory and yeah, then you meet the people there that you meet there. But we have the playful need to do display, to do display. So we play display, and we meet people like this.
Yeah, I think for me, what's important is the feeling that we and each is sitting in. And you can sit in a cave, and if you're really feeling it, they're going to be the right people passing by that cave and have a look and sit down next to you. And right now, like, it might be something else that you're feeling, and it's bringing attention to it, to a screen, or putting up a Facebook video or whatever. It's just a question what right now comes out of the feeling. And I think it's much less what we do. It's gonna be what people feel when they're there, and what people feel when they go out. And
I wanted to point out why we are here in this community. For me, it's just because I like to connect and to play on this level, and I have the ability to do so. And I experienced in my life that when you are sitting in a cave or meditating in a monastery, and it's not your place to be there, you are going to be lonely, and you are going to be lonely, and you are going to be suffering a lot. So you need to do what the body and your mind clicks with, what the talents are, what the nutrients are at that moment in your garden. And if you go against it and decide, now my mind says it's time to sit in a monastery because I read in a book that it's good to be on the top of a hill and meditate, probably you're going to be suffering a lot and not meet this much people and be very, very lonely. I do not know if it resonates with some people, but you have to act like your talents and your capabilities are.
And I mean, it might, for me to put onto this, it might be that you don't know what your talents are.
Yeah.
And I would even go, just follow that feeling. And it's easy for us to create the idea that, yeah, after reading a book, I too, like me too, I should go to India and sit in that monastery, or me too, I should go in the woods by myself. But life will show you if that's going to be right for you. And I had moments when I thought I need to get out of the city, but I just seemed not to manage it. And then something very beautiful emerged in the city. And I had moments when I thought, like, okay, I'm ready now to settle down, and I don't care if it's the city. And I was pulled out of the city. So yeah, I think the feeling will guide you.
Yeah, it's important to feel the difference between what you feel like and what you create of a wanting in your mind because of the pictures that come in, or the things that you see, or the things that you read, or your monkey mind produces. I think that's maybe the biggest part of my work here. Try to make people see the difference between the one and the other. So now I'm starting up again. No, let's close this off.
Let's close this off. I think we're in for 2 hours right now.
I will put it integrally, completely on the group.
Yeah, I would also put this video as a full. I think if people watch until here, thank you for watching. If you listen until here, thank you for listening.
You probably clicked.
Yeah, you probably clicked with what you said. And Yeah, I really hope this is going to be
Yeah.
helpful for
Yeah.
people to listen to.
Yeah. I will call it the biggest business card of all times. Just
Nice.
put I will cut the practical things off in front, and in the end, um, Moritz, you can add the group to your professional page if you want to.
Ah, nice.
Uh,
Nice. Then there.
then you have to go into the Instellungen from the group, the Inner Freedom and Critical Work group. You have to go to the management tools, and when you scroll down a bit, you can connect the group to pages, to professional pages. And I connected the group to my professional page. Maybe you can do it to your page also.
Cool.
So then you can post from as your professional page in the group. Maybe that's interesting for you.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, I think that can be helpful, and also maybe I can do some different interactions with my professional.
Yeah, because you were working with your site or your platform that you're building.
Yeah.
There's another thing. I cannot invite I cannot welcome newcomers in the group. I noticed Esther has another Facebook. I think she has the American version, and she can she can welcome people who are new in the group, like 7 days new or something. And I noticed today there was some people from Holland coming in. I think that's from the ad, I'm not sure, but some people are rolling in, and I wanted to welcome them, but it's not possible. Maybe you with your version, you can or not?
No, I also was looking for it because I wanted to do that.
If I have to do it manually, it will be a lot of work.
Yeah, I think, but I think I'm gonna do that work, or we gonna do that work.
Yeah.
Because I would love to just mention everybody, actively, because I think it's so valid if you interact with the people more directly. And I was also playing with an idea. I'm gonna let it cook. Something that I want to propose to people in the group to maybe have some personal interactions, like one-on-one interactions with proposing them to have a 15 minutes conversation or something.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
To talk or to why not?
Yeah.
Then they see your
to
face.
Get curious. I would love to do something like that.
Certainly. I think I will keep myself to the one question interviews. And if you have interesting people or coaches that we can interview, we could ask if they have 5 minutes time for us to do like a little Zoom and ask this one question. And then they can elaborate for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or how long they have time for us. And we could get some people who wrote interesting books or did an interesting show, or I don't know.
I do know interesting people. I think that I can ask for this.
And probably they want to do it with you. We can do it with 3 if you want to. It doesn't matter. We can do it anyway. And I was thinking, like, I'm not afraid of big names. I was thinking of sending out some emails to some big names.
Yeah. Why not? I'm up for that.
I had some
me
big
neither.
names
I like
in my home, like, and Esther was always so, no, they are not going to come. Why not? Just phone them up. Okay, you're in San Francisco. When are you in Holland teaching? Yeah, between then and then. Do you have a day left? Yeah, okay, come to Belgium. And he stayed with us, like was a big yoga teacher in America, and he stayed for us in 2 days, and we are still in contact. So they're just people.
we are all just people.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, there's some people wanting to believe that they're not just people, but we're all just people.
It's I was thinking about some famous free divers too, because they work with their minds and it attracts another kind of people to the group, maybe.
Cool. Yeah, I'm very open. I think like that group has potential to grow.
Yeah.
To grow much bigger.
That would be funny.
Yeah, it would be really cool. And it's cool to not do it alone, because then sometimes when you're not active, then I can be active, and sometimes
Yeah.
when I'm not active, you can be active. So there is a constant care.
Yeah, I'm not that of a community person, but I'll try to be, and maybe I have no problem with alongside other people who are professional. That's no problem. We know what the big standpoints are.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, is it okay for you? Is it enough for you?
It's enough for me. Yeah. I need to close the conversation now.
Okay.
I want to be doing something else now.
Let's see. Yeah, I have to work on this, and I have a little piece of film of previous conversation about the inner freedom retreat I have to cut, and so I have enough to do next
Cool.
week. So if you
Cool.
need to call, then we can arrange.
Yeah, I'm gonna be gone from Thursday until Sunday. Myself, I'm gonna be in the woods.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to an event. It's called Man in the Woods. It's a group of men. It's like a men's only retreat in the forest.
Okay.
So I'm gonna be back next week, Monday, with some new energy and insights and time out of nature.
So let's leave it alone for a week or
Yes.
so.
Let's leave it alone. I think this video in full, I'm gonna also repost it on my personal page and the professional page.
I will do
And
that.
I'm gonna hint people on Instagram to take a look on that. So yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting to get as much people possible.
Take a nap, man.
Involved. Yeah, it's just yawning from the attention.
Goodbye, Moritz. Have a nice.
Goodbye, Bart.
Enjoy
Thank
your
you.
woods.
Thank you. Bye, Bart. Bye bye.